Hi, everyone, and thanks for joining today's webcast, Leveraging Modern Technology to Grow Your Business. My name is Kelly Cornejo from Sage, and I'm going to be your host today. Today's webcast, we're going to go into detail about how Sage is positioned to grow with you as your business evolves. We will be featuring Sage customer, Adrian Nyland from Carmanah. He's going to explain how his business is adapting to rapid growth and using technology to meet those challenges. We will save some time at the end of today's presentation for Q&A, so if anyone has questions throughout the presentation, please type them into the chat and send them to the host so we can address afterwards. As businesses grow and become more complicated, priorities change. Recent research from the SMB group shows that smaller businesses are preoccupied with what it takes to grow businesses and keep the lights on. Things like getting customers through the door, generating more revenue, paying bills, and making payroll. But as we all know, success creates its own challenges. Maybe you have more employees or more offerings, different regulatory requirements start kicking in, and maybe you move into more markets. So your business challenges start shifting, keeping in mind that business growth and profitability are still important priorities. The tools and processes that worked in the early days may no longer work, and that's where technology has been designed to help you. Okay, entry-level accounting solutions are often the first business management software that small businesses buy, and most small businesses that are starting up usually go for the least expensive or easiest to find. Then as time goes by and you start getting some traction in the market, you add on software as you need it, and before long you find yourself dealing with a jumble of different point solutions that don't typically always talk to each other. So you'll end up working more hours just to keep up with the day-to-day because you don't have the visibility into your business that you need in order to make good decisions. Now you found yourself juggling the day-to-day, but you're not carving out time to plan ahead, hindering you from being able to take advantage of new opportunities and grow in a scalable way. For us here at Sage, it's all about giving you choices and being there when you're ready. One thing we hear from all our customers is that they appreciate the fact that Sage has so many ways to help them with their business, regardless of the pace at which they're growing. It's one of the unique aspects to Sage and makes us proud to support our customers throughout the life of their business. But where do you start, and how hard is it? Is it going to be worth it? How will your business benefit from investing in technology? You're about to find out firsthand from a company just like many of yours who invested and saw results. It's now my pleasure to introduce Adrian Nyland from Carmanah Technologies to share his company's story. With that, I will hand it over to you, Adrian.
Hi, thanks, Kelly. Hi, everybody. I'm just going to start by saying that I woke up this morning with a bit of a cold, so hopefully I won't cough in your ears. I'll try to get to the mute button first, but just in case, I'll warn you now. So Carmanah, where we put solar to work. So who is Carmanah? So Carmanah is split up into a number of different vertical markets that we sell into. So we have our SABIC offshore market, which is actually based out of Germany. Sorry, that took a second to figure out. And what we do is we put lights onto offshore wind. We also do helipad lighting and sign lighting with that business. Moving over, we have SABIC Marine, which is based out of Finland. So this is our solar lighting division, putting lanterns on the tops of buoys. This is the bread and butter. This is Carmanah in its essence. This is what Carmanah started as. And actually out in the field, when you see one of these lights, you can see a few of these lanterns here on this screen. They're actually called Carmanahs out in the world because we were the first ones to come out with them. Next, we've got our airfield business. So this is actually putting out rapidly deployable airfields for military, for places that there is just no power, and as well for a lot of civilian applications, like, for example, up in northern British Columbia. Next, we have our obstruction market. So this is lanterns that go on the top of cranes, on the high-tension power lines, tops of buildings, things like that, so planes don't, they see them as an obstruction. And then we have a few more. We have our traffic division. So the big product there is our rectangular rapid flashing beacon. So essentially it's this beacon that you walk up to at a crosswalk and it blinks like crazy. And it's been proven to cut down pedestrian traffic-related deaths by over 60 to 70% compared to just a standard flashing amber light or just paint on the ground. Next, we have SOL. SOL is an organization that we purchased a few years ago out of Florida, and SOL stands for Solar Outdoor Lighting, so this is our illumination business. So what we do here is put solar panels at the tops of poles. We put good fixtures that run LED lights at the end of them, and we can produce actually as of this year, we can actually, in new construction, we can put up solar lighting for less than the cost of putting up AC lighting, which is really exciting. Next, we have our on-grid business, or engineering, procurement, construction business. This is a business based out of Ontario, and this business puts on-grid solar onto the rooftops of buildings in Ontario, as well as some ground-based solar, and we're actually moving into the United States as well in this. And then last and certainly not least, we have our Go Power division. And Go Power, what they do is put solar onto RVs, work trucks, little solar kits that you can buy to keep your batteries topped up to run your stuff. And we actually have quite a penetration into the OEM market. So there's big manufacturers like Forest River. If you're an RV person, you may have heard of them, where they actually wire in, they pre-wire all their trailers to take the Carmanah product, which is really exciting. So what have we won? In the last few years, we've won some pretty neat awards. We've won the EcoStar Award for Greenest Office last year, and we actually had the pleasure to accept the award this year we won Green Technology Award here in Victoria, which was kind of exciting. And we've won the ACE Award, which is basically a co-op award because Carmanah believes strongly in hiring co-op students out of universities and college. And actually, I'm thinking of the people that work around me, just looking out my window of my office here, there's about 6 or 7 of them just in this 30 people in front of me that were all co-op students that have now become full-time employees with Carmanah. Next is the Viatech. This is the Vancouver Island technology community. It's kind of like a chamber of commerce, but for technology companies in southern Vancouver Island where we're located. Our headquarters is located. And we won the Company of the Year last year at the awards ceremony, which was really, really exciting. So our industry. So in 2012, solar panels converted again about 15% of the available energy. Now in 2016, we convert closer to 25%. That's a huge increase in just 4 years. And of course, with this increase, the price of panels is coming down. So you can see from the graph there on the right, I mean, it used to be $4 per watt of solar panel, and now we're down to about 50 cents. That's a massive change. So not only is the efficiency going up, but the cost is going way down. That's what's leading directly to our illumination business being able to not only have better efficient LED lights and higher capacity batteries, but now we can put smaller solar panels on the tops of these poles, which means smaller poles, which means less material, which means lower cost. So we can actually, again, erect these things for less than what we can to tie, or what people can for the grid, because you don't have to trench and put cables in the ground and all that kinds of stuff. So moving away from Carmanah and moving more into what we've done in the past and where we came from. Originally and this was before my time, we were with Intuitive ERP and Goldmine. And if any of you have ever used Goldmine specifically, you'll know the pain which was Goldmine. And then moving forward, the company, we're a publicly traded company. We're on the Toronto Stock Exchange. Our stock name is CMH on the Toronto Stock Exchange. And what happened was we had a CEO that wanted to grow Carmanah and turn us into this $200 million company, and we were going to skyrocket. And we needed to have an ERP system that would allow us to just buy companies up and just bring them into the fold easily. So the choice was made to go with Oracle E-Business Suite as well as Salesforce. And the Oracle E-Business Suite was hosted. It was out in the Oracle Cloud. And it was very, very expensive. It was very hard to maintain. We had to have a very expensive contractor that basically was a full-time employee drawing a upper management salary to maintain just keeping Oracle up and running and getting it going. And it was a mess. It worked, but if you've ever worked with Oracle, you know sort of the the depth of what Oracle is and does. And of course we went with Salesforce. That was what, all companies do. They go with Salesforce because, again, it's big. It's the name brand on the market. It's the one that everybody wants to go with. Now, what we decided to do when we had a new CEO come in a few years ago, he did this great thing where he went around to everybody in the company. He said, we're going to kick off this thing called Big Bold Ideas. I want everybody in the company to submit ideas of what they think should change in the company. Everything from closing remote offices to selling new product to changing internal processes to getting rid of software, whatever it was, everything was on the table. And I guess when he did this, and I believe he's done this before, he was expecting, 5 or 10, ideas. He had well over 50 ideas. And some of the ideas from yours truly was get rid of Oracle. The cost of Oracle for us essentially was the same cost as implementing Sage 300 and Sage CRM. So the 1 year cost, just the 1 year cost of Oracle, including licensing, contracting, and hosting fees, was the same price that we actually could implement Sage 300 and Sage CRM for. Now, why did we look at Sage 300 and Sage CRM? Well, one, our CEO, John, had worked with it in the past, and he knew that it was quite good. However, he gave us the freedom, myself and the other guy on the project, to look at whatever we wanted. So we looked at everything. We looked at SysPro, we looked at Sage X3, we looked at 300. We also looked at some manufacturing-specific tools. We looked at JD Edwards, we looked at SAP, we looked at some smaller ones, we looked at NetSuite. And after we sort of got everything out and looked at the pros and cons and built our matrix of the software, Sage 300 really trickled up to the top. Now, Carmanah is technically a manufacturing company, but we use contract manufacturers. So our contract manufacturer is actually across the water from us in Vancouver. It's actually technically in Burnaby, right near Caron Business, which is actually the company that does our ERP consulting for us as well as our CRM consulting. Actually very close, a few blocks away. And so because they're a contract manufacturer, we don't actually have to do MRP. We don't have to do the manufacturer's resource planning, all that stuff on our side. We need to be able to put orders in. We need to be able to ship orders out. We need to be able to do the standard APAR, GL type stuff. That's it. That's really all we need. So Sage 300 seemed to be a really good fit. Then, once we had picked the software, then you got to pick your partner. And looking at all the software, Sage had such a depth of partners all the way across Canada as well as in the United States. So we felt really good that no matter who we picked, if it wasn't the right choice, we would be able to move on to somebody else and be able to pick up where we left off. So why did we need to implement this solution? Well, number one, inefficiencies. Oracle was horrendous. 20 clicks to do something that Sage we do in 2 clicks. It was nuts. It was an improperly sized solution. When we bought it, we thought we were going to become this $200 million company. We were about a $20 million, $25 million company when I joined the company. It was just way too big for us. And the cost, I mentioned this already, the support cost, hosting costs, and licensing costs were pretty astronomical for the size of business we were. It did not make sense. So what did we need to solve? We needed to do more with less. It's a bit of, a catchphrase that a lot of people say, but we truly did. We needed to be able to grow the company and sell double what we were selling without having to add double the staff. And that was the problem with Oracle we found, was whenever we started selling, a third more, all of a sudden people would come saying, oh my God, this thing is so inefficient, we need to hire more people. We needed less reliance on a single support consultant. In Victoria, it's a government town, so there is a lot of Oracle in the city. Finding somebody that actually knows Oracle eBusiness Suite was actually remarkably difficult, and somebody that we could get and retain and use on a regular basis. We did have a guy, and he's great. He was a great guy to work with. I still use him on our old Oracle. We still have it running in the background because we need it for auditing purposes. But I remember he took a vacation once to India, and when he was there, he was in a part of India where he had 0 cell coverage, and Oracle went down. And he had to take a cab, and it took him about 6 hours to get somewhere where he could even get in front of a computer to support us. That's how out in the wild we were. It was really, really difficult to manage. So how did we come to Sage 300? Again, we looked at a large number of ERP solutions on the market. Again, it's a trusted solution and it's a very reasonable cost we found compared to everything else out there. The huge partner base that I've already mentioned. And it allowed for customizations. So what I've learned about Carmanah is that, yes, we're a business that sells things. However, we actually are a bit of a unique unicorn rainbow thing that has many different verticals. Like I mentioned at the start, we have marine business, we have an aviation business, construction, consumer business. We sell products on Amazon. We have EDI connections to different partners. We have a contract manufacturing firm that we need to send things to. We have BOMs for some products and not for other. Even our invoicing process is depending on the vertical, we have a different invoicing process because just for a really quick second as an aside, let's say we're selling an outdoor light. Well, when you sell an outdoor light, you need to actually send them the bolts to put the pole up first because they need to actually put the bolts into concrete, so those get sent out first. Then the second thing is the pole, and then the last thing is the system. And we needed to be able to customize the invoicing. so that we could send out periodic invoices through this and make sure that things weren't getting charged. So, taxes weren't being all lumped onto something that was a $0 item like the bolts. So Sage 300 allowed us for these to have these customizations. And then on top of that, we found a great partner that knows this system extremely well and has been able to help us with all those customizations. I mean, just yesterday, I think I talked to them twice about 2 totally different things that we're going to be putting into the system. It worked out of the box. We didn't want to have something that we had to fully customize either. We wanted to go with best practices because there are industry best practices. Yes, we're a bit of a unique unicorn. However, how you process things and how you push things through the system, there are business best practices, and we wanted to follow those things. So out of the box, Sage 300 did that, and it worked with Sage CRM. So this was huge for us. When we had Salesforce and Oracle, the two just didn't talk. They didn't talk at all. But with Sage CRM, that information flowed directly back and forth out of the box with no question. So it was kind of like 2 birds with 1 stone there. And last but not least, Sage actually listens. So when we bought Sage, we had a couple of issues specifically with Sage CRM, and I'll spare you the details, but ultimately I knew that when I rolled out Sage CRM, I was going to have just a revolt on my hands because of one very small specific issue. And I went to Sage Summit, I brought it up with the CRM guys, and they didn't believe me. So what we did is I showed them. I brought it out, I showed them exactly what the issue was, and they were all stunned that it was even an issue. They then said to me, well, okay, we're going to fix this, but it's not going to be in a release for a little while. Okay, fair enough. At least you believe me and it's in there. Well, the fix was actually released over the summer. So if you know the Sage Summit timeline, that was not very long. So they listened to what I had to say. They actually took it to heart and implemented a solution, and we ended up rolling out CRM. After that solution was in there, I didn't have the revolt on my hand. It was great. So how do we work with our business partner? So our business partner is Carmanah Business Solutions. Carmanah is run by a guy named Paul. He's a great guy, I know him quite well, and they were just awesome to work with. They also work with a partner company called Tyrox Software. Tyrox does all the customizations for us and writes the code. We've purchased some add-ons from Tyrox as well that have been very beneficial from an admin standpoint that I've just loved. And so what we did is we performed an in-depth investigation. So both business partner consultants and myself, involved with each functional leader, we went over everything. So we had a rep from AP, AR, supply chain, customer service, every different part of the business. And what was great was at the time, I was super green in this whole thing. So I was really able to come in and ask them, well, why are you doing it this way? This doesn't seem to make sense to me. There's got to be a simpler way to do this. And Carmanah, with Tyrox, came in and helped me do that and helped me ask the questions that I needed to ask. And they also asked us, like, whoa, why are you guys doing this? There might be a better way to do this. The other thing we did is each functional area leader, they owned their part of the application. So for example, we purchased an add-on called eRequester. It allows you to put in purchase requests which get automatically converted into purchase orders. It's an awesome piece of software. If you haven't seen it or do a lot of POs, it's great. So we gave that implementation of just that one piece of software to the supply chain buying clerk because she's the one that does all of the POs in the company. So she owned that, and it was in her best interest to make it as good as it could possibly be, because if it was good on the end of the users putting in data into their purchase request, it made her life a hell of a lot easier building the purchase orders. So that was a huge key to our success. We were also tasked by upper management to leave no procedure unquestioned. I was not allowed to look at anything we did without asking, why are we doing this, how are we doing this, and can we do this better? We were also given the freedom to suggest new ways. So me, again, being green, I'm not an AP guy, but I can look at a process and go, that's silly. Like, you're doing this twice and you're looping around, and what's going on here? There's got to be a better way to do this. And we were allowed to suggest new ways from my green perspective, and as well from Carmanah and Tyrox perspective. They could come forward and say, okay guys, we've dealt with all these companies. You're doing this differently than everybody. Here's the way everybody else is doing it. You should look at it this way. And again, our business partner, which I've mentioned a number of times, was very confident in their recommendations, and they were confident to tell us no. And that's what we asked them to do. We said, we want you to step up and tell us when this is a bad idea, or tell us that we're crazy, or tell us that we're asking for too much, because we, of course, wanted the world. But we needed to hear no. and they were confident when they said no, and we listened. Well, we questioned it from time to time, of course, and sometimes they were, they would see our side of it. Maybe they just didn't understand what we were getting at because of the complexities of what we were doing, but ultimately, we listened to them a lot, and that ended up being very, very successful for us as well. I mean, I used to call our Oracle support guy almost daily, and now for support from Caron, we have little issues here and there. It's nothing compared to what we had with Oracle and Salesforce. Really, I spend most of my time calling them going, okay, it's time to improve this process. We need to automate this thing. Okay, guys, let's. So what we're doing is the support dollars we used to spend are all going into enhancements and automation of the system so that we don't need to hire more people as our sales have increased. So since we've put in Sage, we've gone from being a $25 to $30 million company. We're now an $80 million company. And we have only gone up in staff by maybe 5 people in the operations side. It hasn't been a huge increase. To go from that, that number of 25 to 80, that's great. That's impressive. And that speaks volumes to what Sage allowed us to do. So how do we use Sage 300? So we automate wherever possible. We standardized our EDI transactions. So you'll see on the right here, we have our key distributors, third-party logistics companies, and contract manufacturers. They all talk back and forth via some form of EDI. So if we talk about our key distributors, so a key distributor for us, for example, is Amazon. So GoPower products are sold on Amazon. If you go to Amazon and you look up GoPower, you'll see our solar panels, our inverters, all sorts of stuff. Well, Amazon said, the only way you're going to deal with us is if you do EDI. So EDI is electronic data interchange. They send us a file. We accept the file. We pump it into our system. We ship out the product. We send them confirmation that we've shipped out the product. Well, we would get, on a Monday, we would get 30, 40 orders from Amazon, and somebody was hand keying those into Sage. First, they were hand keying it into Oracle, which was pretty crazy. Then we were hand keying it into Sage, which at least was faster. But what the EDI solution we picked through Commerce, of course, with the help of Caron interviewing a bunch of different companies, we now have, I think it's 3 clicks to put in orders. We could put in 30 orders in 3 clicks from Amazon, and also from another couple. We have a couple different distributors now that go in via that. Second, the third-party logistics company. So we don't have any warehouses ourselves. We use third parties to warehouse our product. We have one in the Auburn area, and we have one in the Vancouver area that our product ships out of, and that's our GoPower product, and actually our outdoor lighting product. And so we need to send them pick-pack slips. We need to get shipping notifications back from them. That's all been custom created by our consultants, which has worked very, very well. And then last but not least, our contract manufacturers. So how do we actually tell the contract manufacturer, go build 400 M650 blinking lights for the U.S. Coast Guard? How do we tell them to do that? So we've written some custom stuff again with Caron and Tyrox to send out our electronic purchase orders and then receive the automatic shipment notifications back from them saying, yes, I've shipped that off to the Coast Guard. And then at the other end, we have Sage CRM with our opportunity management, which has been quite successful for us, and order entry. So order entry, of course, within Sage, it's pretty good. Compared to Oracle, it's miles better. The way our products work, though, because they're solar products, you can't just buy something and plunk it down. You actually need to size it and assure that, you've got the right size panel, the right size batteries, and our customers shouldn't have to deal with that, the complexity of that. And to be honest, solar is pretty simple. Make sure you have a big enough panel, big enough battery without building something that's too big so that the product will work on the worst possible day of the year, because that day would be, somewhere around December 20th with no sun for a couple of days. So our order entry system is something we have developed internally. The integration piece between that and Sage 300 was, again, developed by our partners. And so it allows us to use some pretty advanced configuration models on our side to pump in a multi-line order within a few clicks rather than having to put in, 10 lines at a time manually within Sage 300. So that's been great. So again, we've used both off the shelf. We use Sage CRM for opportunity management. And we have our internally developed custom order entry tool. We also use the same tool for quoting. So on our sales side, they can quote something in that tool, press a button, it goes to our customer support team. Customer support does a second sort of look at that order, make sure everything's legit and valid, hits a button, it goes into Sage 300, and everything is triggered to send things off to our contract manufacturers or our third-party logistics companies. So what did we get out of all this? We got a lot of things out of this. The one thing I put first is the lower cost, because it is a lot a lot lower cost than what we were paying before with Oracle e-Business Suite. It was just remarkably lower. We simplified a ton of processes in the business. Things that used to pass through 3 different hands now pass through 1 person. Items that used to take us 20 clicks to go through are now 1 or 2 clicks. We were able to use off-the-shelf software add-ons to perform complicated tasks. So for example, like EDI, with Oracle, we had to hand code everything for EDI. With Sage 300, we were able to work with our partner, find a bunch of add-ons, vet all the different add-ons, and then pick the one that seems to work best with us and then implement it. That was just awesome. We've got Print Boss, we've got eRequester for our purchase requests, we've got HighJump for our EDI, we've got Norming Asset Manager for asset management, we have an RMA add-on, we have a user administrator add-on that we actually got from Tyrox that makes my life a hell of a lot easier. I can copy user permissions, things like that. So rather than coding all this stuff, you go to the market and you see what's out there for Sage, and there's probably a tool for it, and most likely it does what you want, and if it doesn't, there's probably another one that does. It's pretty great. The amount of time to enter an order was reduced, so we're looking at sort of, 10 to 30 minutes, sometimes up to 2 hours for order entry. We're down to literally single clicks. We're talking, we could put in a 20-line outdoor lighting order, which may have, I don't know, 200 sub-items in the bill of materials that need to be entered into Sage. We're doing this in like 2 clicks now. It's amazing. Our lead times are down. So our lead times used to be somewhere upwards of 6 to 8 weeks. We now have lead times down to 2 or 3 days. That is huge. That was a big one. If somebody wants to buy a lantern, they probably want to light something up pretty damn quickly. And when they had to wait 6 to 8 weeks to get things, it just didn't work. And Oracle was definitely holding us back in this regard. Because we were able to get our systems in line with Sage and then have some customizations and just some out-of-the-box solutions that would allow us to get information to our contract manufacturers faster. And on top of that, actually, the reporting side of things, we use Sage Intelligence for our reporting. We also use SQL reporting services, which is sort of a secondary thing that Carmanah has invested a lot of time and effort into. We've been able to write some very simple reports. So staff that used to spend their time doing data entry are now actually reviewing reports and doing what they should be doing in that job, which is assessing the reports and finding better ways to save time and money. And that's actually a big reason why our lead times are down. The easier ability to customize, I can make a call to Carmanah and Tyrox and have a very frank discussion about what we need to do and get told yes or no and what it's going to take to get it done. And most times things are done relatively quickly. And by that, I mean a couple of days. Our business partner knows us and our solution extremely well. So we've got a good relationship with Carmanah and Tyrox at this point. And I know if we had picked somebody else, we probably would have a great relationship with them as well. And even, let's say that they decide to all win the lottery and go off to Tahiti, I feel comfortable that I'm in an environment and that I've got Sage backing me that I could find another partner that could help me out if I needed that. But at this point, they know us so well, we know them so well, we're very, very comfortable, and everything is working. It's just great. So what are we doing in the future? Automated credit card processing is something we absolutely still have on our list to get done. This one's been burning a hole in my pocket for the last year and a half, and it's driving me nuts, but we are going to get this done. Online sales for distributors. So we want to give our distributors, we sell through a distributor model through most of our verticals, and we want to give them the ability to actually go online and place orders themselves. Automated tax calculations. Now, this publicly, Carmanah has come out and said that we're actually going to be selling off 2 of our divisions, our Toronto division, which is our on-grid solar division, as well as our Go Power division has been put up for sale. And so the automated tax calculations actually is for the Go Power and online sales. So this one is starting to move to the bottom of the list of things that we need to actually tackle, because if we don't have that Go Power division and somebody buys them up and continues on with the Go Power name, which is hopefully the plan, then they will take on that task, and we're hoping they'll take Sage 300 with them. This is a big one, automated accounts payable for invoice entry and invoice storage. So we're actually looking, we've had a few demos of the Modulo product, and I'm very impressed with it. And essentially what it allows us to do is, one, automate some AP entry so it learns invoices, and so our AP team doesn't need to hand bomb in every single invoice. We can actually scan it, have it read it in. But moreover, when you're a publicly traded company, you have to audit. You have to have an audit every single year. So we have KPMG they're our auditors, and they come to us and say, okay, pull these 30 random invoices so that we can prove that all your controls are in place. Well, what this software is going to allow us to do is we can actually give the auditors, using the using some built-in stuff in Sage, the workflow, we can give them the little buttons that say, here's the GL. They can go to the GL, and from the GL, they can actually drill all the way back to the physical invoice, it's a scanned invoice, but the physical invoice. So they will no longer have to ask our AP people for all of these invoices because they'll be saved in there. So this should end up not only saving us time on the AP side, but should hopefully save us tens of thousands of dollars on the auditing side. You know, looking at invoices becomes a day-long process rather than a 2-week-long process. Online tools and apps to program lanterns that will tie into our simulator and our product definitions and our order data. This is actually becoming a reality now, which is great. We've got a team of a bunch of programmers on staff now that work on web-based tools. And we are going to be, in the future, at some point, rolling out applications that actually allow us to program our lights via Bluetooth. We actually have released one product now that does that, our new marine lantern, the 660. And moving forward, we would love to go, okay, this lantern was bought on this day, this is your warranty, and okay, you want to change this lantern from a blinky lantern to just a steady-on lantern at a really high brightness. Well, what's going to happen is the app is actually going to go back to our advanced simulator tools that we have internally. It'll then look at the light, look at the GPS coordinates, and go, can I even sustain this? Do I have enough battery power and enough solar to sustain the thing that somebody wants me to do? If the answer is no, sorry, we can't let you program the lantern to do this because you'll just deplete the batteries. Here's a suggested solution of what you could do. You could bump the candela down in the brightness, or perhaps change a dimming profile or things like that. So this is a really exciting one for us because this is happening. My software team is working on this stuff right now. So I've talked a lot. That's about it for me in terms of my presentation on Carmanah and what we have to offer. So back to you, Kelly.
Thank you so much, Adrian. Thank you for presenting a great story, and I know we're all excited at Sage to watch you guys continue to grow and succeed. We will now jump into some questions. So far, we only got one in the chat, so we'll cover that one, and if anyone has anything they think of, continue to send those to me. So the first one so far, they'd like to know your rationale in choosing between Sage 300 versus Sage X3.
Yeah, so I've always been told by the Sage people to be really blunt in these presentations. So just to be honest, this isn't my first rodeo. I spoke at the Sage Summit this year, and I've also spoke at sort of the mini Sage Summit in Vancouver, and I keep getting asked questions like this, and Kelly, hopefully I don't get in trouble for this. So why did we pick one over the other? We looked at X3, and X3 did look like it could be a good fit for us. So a bunch of reasons of why we didn't go with X3. Number one, we didn't see the support in Western Canada. And ultimately, yes, there's partners everywhere. Of course, everybody likes to stay to the locale. There was a couple of companies in Western Canada that provided X3 support. I didn't really feel that comfortable with these companies. Two, X3 is kind of like, if you're familiar with something like Navision or the Microsoft Navision type product, it's kind of just, everything needs to be configured, everything needs to be built, everything needs to be touched. Whereas Sage 300 out of the box, it's got ARAP, everything just works. It's just there, and there's best practices wrapped around those things. We didn't want to go through the process of telling X3 how we want it to work. We wanted a piece of software to come in and say, this is how accounting is done. This is what Sage has built into Sage 300 because we feel this is the best practice way to do things. So, okay, we're not going to reinvent the wheel here. Let's let the software guide us down the path, and maybe our processes need to change to match that. Those were the two big things. The last thing was that the penetration that X3 had, at least at the time, was not nearly as deep as Sage 300, and so that scared us a little bit. We didn't really want to dive into a piece of software that was still, it felt like it was in its infancy, at least in Western Canada. So those are sort of the big three. And, well, I guess the fourth one is X3 does have a manufacturing piece. We're not manufacturers. We are, but we don't do the manufacturing. So we don't need that extra, to be honest, BS in the system. We wanted, that's what we pay the contract manufacturer to do. They manage that. They deal with that. We don't want to deal with that. So those are sort of the four main reasons why we didn't go with X3 and why we chose 300.
Awesome, thank you. So I think that might be it for Q&A. You must have answered everyone's questions throughout.
Or everybody fell asleep, one of the two.
So for those of you wondering, we have a webcast following this, which is actually going to be a demo of the Sage 300 software. One of our product experts, Renee Castellano, is going to actually walk through Sage 300 and kind of give a high-level overview just of 300, navigating through some of the main screens, giving you guys just a quick look into the software. Of course, we can still schedule one-on-one demos if you'd like to see it specific for you or your industry. But the URL right there, which I can also send out to you guys afterwards, is where you can register for that webcast. It is on December 6th at 1 p.m. Eastern. So hopefully a bunch of you guys can join us there. If not, it will be on demand following. But would love if anyone could attend live. The sales phone number is listed right there in case anyone would like to reach out and get some immediate information. And I guess that being said, no more chat questions. Thank you guys so much for attending today. I hope you enjoyed the presentation, and thank you again, Adrian, so much for giving everyone a peek into Carmanah.
Cheers. Thanks very much.
Thanks, everyone.